Hey peeps, here for another lazy boy moment with Kenny D. And if you're wondering why I, for the second time, have said it's a lazy boy moment, is well, I have my phone in my pocket. I'm sitting in my lazy boy and feel inspired to talk about something that I've been reflecting on. And today, the lazy boy moment is going to be about a statement that Paul had made to Timothy, where he told Timothy to endure suffering like a good soldier. And some of the things that I've really been thinking through on this is just that Timothy's experience with Paul was insane. He was working with Paul, who was a missionary, going from one city to another city, communicating the truth about the person and the work of Jesus Christ. And as Paul went to these cities, people would blow up in rages, and they would run him out of one city, and Paul would run into another, and Paul would begin to communicate this truth again, and that city would blow up in a rage and sometimes beat him, throw him in prison, and Paul would miraculously escape and go to another city. Timothy's first experience with Paul in a region called Macedonia was literally just like 3 to 4 cities in a row that's happening to, and Paul had to go hide down in Athens. And when that would happen, Paul would send Timothy back. And in fact, in that region, Macedonia, he was with Silas, completing these works that had begun in these cities, where obviously some people were extremely favorable to the truth they were hearing, whose lives were being changed, and they were baptized and had been saved. And so they had needs. They wanted to grow spiritually, and also to see a church really birthed in those cities, which demanded leadership and elders to be appointed and ordained. And so Timothy would be in these places where he knows it's very scary, could be very dangerous, and he had needs to endure these situations well, to finish the work that had begun. And so here Paul writing to Timothy and telling him to endure these hardships like a good soldier really is reminding Timothy that they're at war, not at war against people and their bodies or armies and militaries. That's not where the battle takes place. Paul, in another place, made it really clear. We wage war against spiritual powers, spiritual principalities, and Jesus also definitely affirmed this image or picture of war as he communicated about the kingdom of God. I mean, the kingdom of God comes up against cities of oppression and pounds the gates of hell open. In other words, these people are caged behind closed gates, and the kingdom of God comes and busts those gates open. He said, the gates of hell will not prevail against you. You will penetrate darkness with light. You will bring light into dark places, and there's an enemy lurking there. And it's a battle. Well, some things I've just reflected on what it would mean to endure hardships like a good soldier versus a bad soldier is even the word endurance itself would embody a good soldier, of to be persistent and not give up when things get hard. It's real easy to throw in the towel and just want to stay in bed and not face the day when a day's full of difficulties or hardships. And there's plenty of ways that we can escape hardships, and that's not what a good soldier does. A good soldier gets engaged in the fight. Also, I've really been reflecting on some of my own experiences, which are super tiny, little bitty experiences of hardship or suffering in following Jesus, where maybe I'm out sharing truth with somebody and get slapped in the face. Or getting beer cans hurled at me. I can remember one time Jamie got pied with a cream pie. And through all these little experiences, it's funny that Jesus has given me joy or a happiness, and sometimes even an excitement when those things would happen. And that was a gift from him. I remember Jamie and I walking down Market Street in San Francisco, giving each other a high five. We couldn't believe it that we had an experience of, ministering a truth. In fact, I was interceding. One man was getting beaten just half to death by a whole mob of people on Market Street in San Francisco. And, I've got a sword. I've got a sword right here with my mouth, and God's told me to use it. And I wasn't just going to walk on by and pretend that wasn't happening. No, we got engaged in a fight right there. Not a physical fight, but a spiritual one. And some people really loved what was being said, and certainly the man who was being beaten and oppressed, but others too, while others got enraged and angry and started hurling beer cans at me and hit Jamie with a pie. And we even had our little girl Abigail out there with us. And God protected us. He really did. There was no serious harm done to anyone. But Jesus made it really clear there's a measure of expectation that all of us have when we're fighting an enemy who comes out of hell. A kingdom that's in hell. That's a bad place. This is a mean-spirited enemy, and he's out to kill, out to destroy. And but my point in all of that is that there is a power that's given to us in this fight. There's a grace that's given to us in this process that can really bring even a measure of peace. I can remember really not struggling with anxiety or fear during any of those little circumstances, but really receiving a gift of peace and confidence and even joy through those times. And Paul, is my hero. Definitely a hero of somebody who was an exemplary good soldier. And he struggled with this. I mean, Paul, when he first began experiencing persecution, he went to God and begged him on 3 different occasions, God, can you please make this suffering stop? Make the hardships end. And God's answer was no, I won't. And the reason is that my grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in your weakness. And Paul, in reflecting on what God said to him, must have been in full agreement as he looked back and realized, yes, God, your power has been made perfect through me, and really maybe even particularly how his power had increased and Paul had matured through the hardships. And Paul's response after hearing God say that was, well, now I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to be glad in these afflictions, in persecutions and insults, really recognizing that he didn't need to throw in the towel, but to really persist and endure as a good soldier in the battle he was engaged in. So for whatever that's worth, I hope that can be an encouragement to you guys too. I know it's really been a good and honest reflection in my own heart of really trying to realize how well I deal with hardships. How well do I deal with suffering while I'm engaged in this battle of the kingdom of God as his kingdom comes to earth and the enemy is raging against it. Anyway, see you guys. Peace out.